It's really fantastic to be here and see a wide variety of people engaging with what I think is a really, really important topic, not just for people with impairment, but actually for everybody. And what I've entitled this presentation, I came up with this title literally yesterday, Mixing and Matching. Why should we care about Scotland? We should care about Scotland because it has very similar characteristics to here. It has a similar sense of social justice, it has similar demographics and a similar population size, similar views around education and local area coordination. But we do need to think about the social care context in which we're talking here. Because there are some, even though there are some similarities with Scotland, there are some real differences. It's important to remember that there is complexity in Scottish government at a local level. So local authorities provide social care, health, some educational outcomes. There's explicit work being undertaken in social care, and it fits in with a better public services initiative that they have over there, how they did the better public services work was they engaged a commission, a wide-ranging commission called the Christie Commission. It was headed by a professor of politics, I think, at the University of Strathclyde. Don't dismiss it because it was headed by a professor of politics. And they explicitly said that this social care work was going on and that needed to be considered in the line of better public services, but that if social care was done well, then the flow on in terms of better public services would be manifest. So what we are talking about is not necessarily exclusive in terms of better public services and value for money. One of the things that is common with New Zealand is a desire for people in receipt of social care to have better quality community-based lives. That is a commonality I found with New Zealand, and it's a really explicit commonality, and it's also a commonality that actually if we do that well, again, we will save money. And if we invest early, and early investment was really important over there, then actually that's a good outcome. This is the key concept for my talk this morning. Self-directed support basically is allowing people to make choices and control their own supports. It was the subject of a very comprehensive strategy in 2010. And what that strategy mainly focused on was a concept called direct payments, which was basically, is it more effective to just give people, after assessment again, just give people the money to go off and purchase their own supports? And I want to give an example around that. Holly's in her early 30s. Holly has a partner, she has a flat, and she has a cat. Holly does have some issues around her support needs due to her impairment. And she's been allocated a small budget to manage these. Not a big budget, but just a small budget. Okay. Advantages of self-directed support. Holly can decide for herself how she uses her support. Holly's decided that in order to have a good life, she wants to use her support to hire a cleaner, as she wasn't happy with the one that her NASC provided. She and her partner, Dave, don't enjoy being in the house when this is done. She uses her SDS to buy Dave and her a coffee while the support's being provided, and then she comes home again, it's all done. It's great. Under the present system, Holly has to take what she's given. She certainly cannot use the money to pay for her and Dave's coffee, because the rules say that actually for her, she needs to pay for things that other New Zealanders would reasonably pay for. She can't even pay for Dave's coffee because A, Dave is not her formal carer, and B, Dave lives in the same house as her. The Holly I've used is a real person, okay, with one thing thrown in, the impairment thing thrown in. It's Holly Walker. Holly Walker is a Green MP and she's a former Rhodes Scholar. Doesn't it seem odd that we would say to someone like Holly that she has to go through an agency to manage her supports? That seems a bit odd to me, because he's clearly a bright person. He's clearly somebody who is in control of their life. It is important to acknowledge that MOH is implementing the new model of disability support services. But I'm not even convinced that the new model, as it stands now, I'm not sure it will solve Holly's issue. So that leads me to think about actually what can we do to enable Holly to live the best life that she can. I do actually have a kind of a solution which is borrowed, and it's borrowed from my friends in Scotland, the Scottish Social Care Self-Directed Support Bill. It's going through the Scottish Parliament right now. In the original framing of it, what they were going to say was that direct payments would be the norm. Direct payments were, you had to deliberately choose to opt out of direct payments, i.e. that would be, for 98% of people, that would be how you do it. And there were some people who turned around and said, well, no, actually, no, it's too much hassle. I don't actually want to deal with my, the money around supports. I'm actually quite happy, as it is, to have the local authority decide that for me. So I think they did something really sensible and pragmatic. They provided a mix of options. There are 4 in total. First one is direct payments. You negotiate with your local authority after assessment and you get the direct payment and you go off and have a happy life. Second is the selection of support by the person, and then it's arranged by the local authority. So Matt could say, well, actually, I want to employ Hilary, because Hilary's a good person, but actually I don't want to deal with the tax too much, and I don't want to do... It's a bit like IF is now, individualised funding is now. The third option is the supports can be selected by the local authority. Interesting thing about that, and this is why it's interesting to compare different countries, because in Scotland, people were really worried that this regime would lead to what they called life and limb care, which was basically in a recessionary environment, you'd get a package of supports that would enable you just to carry on. The local authorities would do the assessment and they'd scrimp and they'd do all sorts of stuff, and it was going to get nasty. And I said to them, well, I'm not, let's just see. The bill's only just been introduced, so give it a chance, people. And that's the advantage of being someone from overseas. You can say, look, actually, give it a chance, people. The fourth one is really, really interesting. You can actually choose to have a mix of how you want your supports provided. Practical example of that. We have Sophie, right? She has impairment-related issues and around practical care, and she has some problem behaviour that causes stress in her family. So she decides under the mix and match option. However, after consulting with her family, she's not sure she wants to make a decision around respite, so she lets an IF provider do that for her. I am not saying that forms of provision that we have now, I want to go bye-bye. If people's provision is good for them, great, fantastic. What I'm saying is I just want to explore maybe expanding out some options. There's been much talk of late in New Zealand about mixed models. You know, we have mixed ownership models. We now have a mixed model in education. So, why not have a mixed model in DSS? We talk a lot, and I think quite rightly, around giving increased choice, control to disabled people and their whānau. Why couldn't we have a real look at a mixed model in disability supports? You know, so Mac can have a direct payment if he wants, he can have, not local authority, but, you know, Ministry of Health provides some supports for him. He can have a mix. Fantastic, great. I mean, there are some people for whom direct payments will work well, and there are some people who just will not want the hassle. And it's really, really interesting, because I was also thinking about other models, because I know that some people will say, might say, direct payments, oh my gosh, step too far, oh my gosh. Okay. Two examples in the New Zealand social care context. One is called working for families. What's really interesting about working for families is that I could spend my working for families money on anything I liked. Another form of social care, this is really interesting being here at MSD, superannuation. Superannuation is the biggest form of social care we give. I suspect if a political party said, superannuitants, do you actually need it? My God, that's called a surtax. My God, Grey Power would have a field day, right? My question is, why is it different in different forms of provision of social care? Last thought. I'm keen to have a disability support system that allows people to grow and flourish. And I don't think that's a radical statement at all, really. I think it's also important to note, though, that it's a big investment from government. Last year, it's 7.5% of the health budget. $1 billion a year. Could this be a way of flourishing potential and maximising government investment? That's a fair point, I think. So I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation and have been challenged by it, and I look forward to questions, comments, not too many tomatoes.